This is the story of the Tree of Life. In 1 Nephi chapter 8, Lehi has a vision. So in this vision that Lehi has, he sees this man. And he says the man was dressed in white. And the man came up to Lehi and he was like, "Hey Lehi, I've got something to show you, come with me." And so Lehi follows him. And then Lehi says that he was surrounded by what he calls a dark and dreary waste. And that he had been traveling for many hours in darkness. And he was starting to get a little bit frantic and, scared or something. And so he starts pleading with the Lord, asking him, to show mercy and to get him out of this darkness. And then he sees this field. He calls it a large and spacious field. And then he sees this tree. And he sees that this tree has fruit. And Lehi says that this fruit was desirable to make one happy. So he went to this tree and he took the fruit and he tasted it. And he says that it was the most sweet fruit he has ever tasted. And he says that as he tasted of this fruit, his soul was filled with exceedingly great joy. And it was so desirable and it brought him so much joy that he desired that his family could taste it as well. So he starts looking around for his family. While he's looking around for his family, he notices that there's this river. And this river ran along near the tree. He followed, the length of the river until he saw his family. And there he saw his wife Sariah and his son Sam and Nephi. And they stood there and they were just kind of not really knowing where to go. So Lehi kind of yells out to him like, "Hey guys, I'm over here, come over here, you've got to try this fruit, it's amazing." And so Sariah, Sam, and Nephi make their way over to Lehi over at the Tree of Life, and they taste this fruit and realize, holy cow, this is the greatest thing I've ever put in my mouth. And Lehi realized that Laman and Lemuel weren't there. And he was like, "What the heck? Where are my other sons? They need to try this fruit too," right? So he looks around and he notices Laman and Lemuel a little ways off by the river. And he calls out to them. He's like, "Hey guys, Laman and Lemuel, we're all over here eating this amazing fruit. It's absolutely incredible. You've got to try it." And he's like, "Get your heinies over here and partake of this delicious grub," right? But they did not go to him, and they did not taste the fruit. So Lehi notices that there's this rod of iron, and it extended along the bank of the river and led to the Tree of Life, where Lehi and Sariah and Sam and Nephi were standing. And that there was also a straight and narrow path, which came along the rod of iron, which led to the tree. And, all around them was this great and spacious field. And then Lehi starts looking around and he notices that there's numberless concourses of people. And that many of them were pressing forward, that they wanted to reach this path where the rod of iron was, which would lead them to the Tree of Life. And so a lot of them came to the path, but there was this mist of darkness that came. And so it was hard for people to see. It was hard for them to press forward. And many of them ended up losing their way and fell off the path, and they were lost. There were also many others that came and caught hold of the iron rod, and Lehi says that they were clinging to it so that they wouldn't get lost. And they kept on pressing forward until they reached the Tree of Life, and that they were able to partake of this sweet fruit. But Lehi watched these people who are partaking of the sweet fruit, and they kind of had these looks on their faces like they were ashamed, that they were embarrassed. And so Lehi looks around, and then he sees this huge building on the other side of the river. He says it was a great and spacious building, that it stood so high as if it were in the air above the earth. And it was filled with all ththese people, that they were wearing all these nice clothes, and that they were in the attitude of mocking, that they were pointing their fingers at the people that were standing at the tree partaking of the fruit, and they were laughing at them, they were mocking them, they were scoffing at them, right? So these people that had fought to get to this tree through the midst of darkness were embarrassed and ashamed, and then they started to walk away, and then they got lost in the mist. And Lehi kept watching all these multitudes of people. Many of them were coming towards the Tree of Life. Other multitudes of people were making their way towards this great and spacious building where people were, partying and having a good time. And there were others that were just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, getting lost and on their own little paths. And sadly enough, he did witness some people were drowning in the river. But he did say that there were a lot of people that did go into that big building. And that after they went into that building, they also started pointing their fingers at the people at the Tree of Life, and they were laughing and mocking them. But Lehi and his family were ignoring them. Now, Nephi later learns the significance of the things within this dream, within this vision. The rod of iron represents the Word of God, and the Word of God leads us straight towards the Tree of Life. And the fruit on the Tree of Life represents the love of God. The great and spacious building represents the world. The moral of the story is, cling to the Word of God. That means reading your scriptures daily, going to church every Sunday, and following the commandments every day of your life so that you can receive the love of God. The world will hate you for it. The world will point their finger and mock you and laugh at you and scoff at you. But the trick is to learn to look away, to learn to not pay attention, and to never be ashamed and to never be embarrassed for what you believe and for receiving the love of God. Because God is not something to be ashamed of.